Hi children, today let us discuss our second chapter from history, that is New Kings and Kingdoms. Many new dynasties emerged after the 7th century. By the 7th century, there were big landlords or warrior chiefs in different regions of the subcontinent. Existing kings often acknowledged them as their subordinates or samandas. Who were these subordinates or samandas? They were expected to bring gifts for their kings or overlords and provide them military supports. As samandas gained power and wealth, they declared themselves to be Mahasamanda or Mahamandaleshwara. That means the great lord of a circle or region, and so on. Sometimes they asserted their independence from their overlords. One such example was that of the Rashtrakuta in the Deccan. Initially, they were the subordinate to the Chalukyas of Karnataka. In the mid-8th century, Dandi Durga, a Rashtrakuta chief, overthrew his Chalukya overlord and performed a ritual called Hiranyagarbha, literally the golden womb. When this ritual was performed with the help of Brahmanas, it was thought to lead the rebirth of the sacrificer as a Kshatriya, even he was not one by birth. In other areas, men from enterprising families used their military skills to carve out kingdoms. For example, the Kadamba Mayura Sharman and the Gurjara Pradihara Harishchandra were Brahmanas who gave up their traditional profession and took to arms and successfully establishing kingdoms in Karnataka and Rajasthan respectively. Children, do you know who were the main ruling dynasties? The main ruling dynasties were Palas, Rashtrakutas and the Gurjara Pradiharas in North India. And in South India, the Chalukyas, the Cheras, Cholas and the Pandyas, etc. Next, our topic is administration in the kingdoms. Many of these new kings adopted high-sounding titles such as Maharaj Adhiraj, Great King, Overlord of Kings, Tribhuvana Chakravarti, the Lord of the Three Worlds, and so on. However, in spite of such claims, they often shared power with their samandas as well as with the association of peasants, traders, and brahmanas. In each of these states, resources were obtained from the producers, that is, peasants, cattle keepers, artisans, and who were often persuaded or compelled to surrender part of what they produced. Sometimes they were claimed as rent due to a lord who asserted that he owned the land. Revenue was also collected from traders. Next, Prashastis and land grants. Prashastis contain details and tells us how rulers wanted to depict themselves as valiant and victorious warriors. Kings often rewarded Brahmanas by grants of land, and these were recorded on copper plates which were given to those who received the land. Next, warfare for wealth. It was the city of Kannauj in the Ganga Valley. For centuries, the rulers belonging to the Gurjara Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas, and Pala dynasties fought for control over Kannauj because there were three parties in this long-drawn conflict. Historians often described it as tripartite struggle or tripartite struggle. Rulers demonstrated their power and resources by building large temples. So when they attacked one another's kingdoms, they often chose to target temples. For instance, or example, Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni from Afghanistan raided the subcontinent almost every year, and he always targeted wealthy temples, including that of the Somnath, Gujarat. Others include the Chahmanas, later known as Chauhans, who ruled over the region around Delhi and Ajmer. And the best known Chahmana ruler was Prithviraj III. Next, a close look at the Cholas. The Cholas from a small family of Urayur, the successors of Vijayalaya, conquered neighboring regions, and the kingdom grew in size and power. Rajaraja first was considered the most powerful Chola ruler and expanded control over most of these areas. His son Rajendra I conquered Sri Lanka and countries of Southeast Asia. Cholas were big temple builders and large bronze image makers. While most images were of deities, sometimes images were made of devotees as well. Agriculture was well developed along with various methods of irrigations. Settlements of peasants known as Ur became prosperous with the spread of irrigation in agriculture. Groups of such villages formed large units called Nadu. Chola kings gave title to some rich landlords, which were Muvendavelan, Arayar, and so on. Brahmanas often received land grants of Brahmadeya. Association of traders known as Nagarams also performed administrative functions in the town. Inscriptions also mention about Sabha. The Sabha had separate committees to look after irrigations. That's all about today's class. Thank you.